I think so, yeah. Okay. We are on 72. No. Am I mistaken about that? No. Yeah, 72. What is that we're up to? I think so. I think we're up to the Mishnah. Yeah. No, we're sure not up to 74. Okay, Lam Vav and Beis. Till now we've spoken about things which make a Nazir not just Tameh, but also break his Nazirus. They make him conscious of counsel as Nazirus. So it says the Mishnah here, if a Nazir is under a schach, means under a roof together with a with that, it's not exactly a roof, it's a if it's a roof he would become Tameh, but it's like a schach is made out of tree branches. So there's tree branches too, right? Except it's still attached to the tree. The Schachos is, so it's questionable if he's on the same branch as the dead body, right? There's a dead body under the tree, but he doesn't know if he's on the same branch specifically as the dead body. Pros, also you have pros are where you have stones jutting out of a house, and you don't know if he was on the same stone jutting out of the house as the dead body, right?
Oh, you're talking like for a tent.
Yeah, for a tent, right. Well, Beis HaPras, that's Beis HaPras is a questionable, is a field where it's a question whether a grave was plowed under in that field. There it's Amim, in going into Chutzlards, and Chutzlards, outside of Eretz Yisrael, we potentially assume that there might be cemeteries all over the place. Vagolel, Vadofek, these are the coverings of either it's a big dispute with Rashi and Tosfos throughout Shas. Either it's the covering of the grave and the covering of the grave, or a burial cave and the covering of the burial cave. Or is dam, and a quarter of a measure of blood as opposed to a half a measure, which we spoke about in the previous Mishnah. Ohel, and being in a tent, and touching a tent, or being in a tent with this quarter of a measure of blood. The Rovat Thomas is the same thing with a quarter of a measure of bones. We said in the previous Mishnah has to be a full measure of bones. The Kelim Hanogim B'Meis, and vessels which touch a dead body. All those things, if he touches those vessels, all those things don't make him break his Nazirus. Okay? Also, if he's shifting gears, if he's counting days after Tzaras, right? He has to count 7 clean days of Tzaras, he made Gomro, or the days in which he is considered to be a leper for sure, before he becomes Tahar. On all these, a Nazir does not shave. Okay? Now, nevertheless, he does become Tameh in all these. In the previous case, the beginning of Mishnah, he does become Tameh, but and therefore he has to go through the process of 7 days of purification, and he has to have sprinkled about him paraduma ashes on the 3rd day and the 7th day. But he doesn't cancel the days he kept previously. For those days, he's in suspended animation. Okay? So let's say he counted 20 days. He becomes Tameh in a tumor which is not direct contact with the dead body, but rather one of the indirect contacts mentioned in our Mishnah. So he breaks for 7 days, and then he goes back afterwards and counts another 10 days. Another 10, right? 20 plus 10 equals, so altogether we have 37 days, but those days in the middle were, he was like in suspended animation. So means he doesn't break the previous ones. He's schil, and and then when he begins, again, after those 7 days over, Monem Yadik starts counting immediately from where he left off. The korban he doesn't bring a korban, right? No, if a Nazir gets Tameh in the type of tumas which break his Nazir, then he has to bring a korban. This Nazir did not get Tameh with such a tumah, so therefore he doesn't bring a korban. B'emes and in truth they said. And Gemara is going to say in truth means halacha Moshe Sinai. There's a direct tradition from Sinai. Yemei Zav v'Azava, the days of a Zav or a Zava, right? A man or woman who has some sort of venereal disease. Yemei Gerushalmi Nazir, and the days of the Mitzora when he's not yet determined to be officially a Mitzora, but he's shut away in quarantine to see if his saras is going to grow or not. Harelu Olin Lo, these days count for him, meaning that they count as part and parcel. The clock doesn't stop ticking. Only when a case where he is Tamei Tumas Meis, where the clock stops ticking for that time when he's Tamei Tumas Meis. In this case, that's not the case. He continues counting through those days. Okay? Now, the question that Gemara asked immediately has to do with the previous Mishnah. The previous Mishnah had said that if you have a limb which has enough flesh on it, and from a dead body, the Nazir touches it, he becomes Tamei, and he has to break his Nazirus. But here it doesn't say in our Mishnah in contradistinction of a limb which doesn't have enough flesh on it. It doesn't say anything about limbs, the size of a limb. It just talks about blood and bones. So what about a limb, if you have a limb which doesn't have sufficient flesh upon it, meaning it's not considered truly a limb anymore, right? Has a bone, has some flesh, but not enough flesh, right? So Rabbi Yochanan might have been a Saim L'Hakel. That something less than a full limb will go lenient, and therefore it doesn't break his Nazirus. Rabbi Shimon Lakshman might have been a Saim, something less than a full limb. Lachmir does, we're severe, and it does break his Nazirus. Now, Bein Asayim, what is this in-between thing we're talking about? Ze'ever min hameis, it's a limb of a dead body, or ever min achai, or a limb of a live person which got severed. Shein aleim basa karoi. It doesn't have enough flesh. Now, an important point, which the Gemara doesn't make inside, but the commentaries make here, is that it has to be that the bone which is inside this limb has been pulverized. Because if that bone has the size of a barley kernel left in its size, then that bone in and of itself would generate tumah. Because if a Nazir touches a bone the size of a barley kernel, that breaks his Nazirus. So our question here concerns a limb with pulverized bone and not enough flesh on it.
So in a case where a Nazir gets hurt and they have to cut his leg off, he's then Tumei?
No, because they could sever his leg in a way that doesn't touch him.
Oh.
That's what they have to do.
The leg has to touch you?
Yes. Okay? So it would have to be done, and it's kind of strange, have to be done in a way in which, say, he would be able to have his leg, which is being amputated, stuck outside the room. Like they'd have to make a hole in the wall, right, or a tent, right? So that way it wouldn't be a problem. Okay. All right. So says more. Boy, Rabbi Yossi, boy. You see where we are? 4 lines down in the Gemara. Rabbi Yossi, boy. Rabbi Yossi asks. I don't understand. He says, "Minayin etzem kitzora." How do we know that a bone the size of a barley kernel, it makes the Nazir tummy? Lo min adain kroy, is enough from this pasuk. O be'etzem adam, or in the bone of a person, So there it said, and we learned that the minimum size of a bone is a barley kernel. So hachat avila kisora, there, normal meaning in normal cases, we say that the minimum size of a bone is a barley kernel. Here, at avila pos mikosora, you're saying that you're making even a smaller, much more minimal amount, which is a limb which has pulverized bone and not enough flesh. Where'd you get such a small measurement from? How do you know that doesn't make you tummy? According to Reish Lakish, who says that we're severe by it. So Tani, Rav Shmuel said, I have a pasuk for it. It says, B'chalo, if you touch a casualty. B'chalo means koshu cholo. And b'chalo means any type of casualty, no matter what the size. B'chol zever min hameis. It can be a limb from a dead body, a limb from a live body, where there's not enough flesh on it. Okay? Period. Rabbi Yochanan said, "Schachos upros." These canopies of trees and the awnings of stones jutting out of the wall. Torah hein etzel truma. The truth is, he says that if the truma it goes under or goes under such a canopy with a dead body, it becomes tamei. If an individual went under such a canopy, then wants to eat truma, he's forbidden to do so midoraisa. But ein nazir megalech. Nevertheless, a nazir does not become tamei. It's halacha Moshe Sinai. It seems that a nazir needs to have definite tuma doraisa with a legitimate ohel, meaning an actual roof, in order to become tamei, not under one of these questionable types of awning. Branches or stones would not be sufficient, right? That's he's Rabbi Yochanan says. Rabbi Yirmiyah asked, I don't understand what you're trying to say. Im lisrof, we're talking about to burn the truma itself, because it came into questionable status. I feel a suffix divrei, even if it's a simple suffix rabbanon, even if it's a question in the rabbanon, certainly burn the truma. And im lilkos, if you want to say, im here should really be like Ella. Rather, it's in terms of being flogged. And it means that if you were tamei in such a way, in any way, truma intentionally, then we flog you for it. Okay? So Tani Reb Tzidina, it's actually a would name missing, it should be Rabbi Yossi Tzidina. Rabbi Yossi of Sidon taught Kum Rabbi Yirmiyah in front of Rabbi Yirmiyah the following statement, Upolygram, which seems to argue on Rabbi Yirmiyah. It says there in this statement, and we'll actually have the statement again towards the end of the evening if we get there tonight. Kol tuma min hames, any tuma from a dead body, shanazir megalech, which causes a nazir to have to shave, chayavin aleh bias mikdash. If you enter the Beis HaMikdash after having come into contact with such a tumah, then you're liable for the penalty for the prohibition of having entered the Beis HaMikdash tamei. Now, the Shari Torah Yisrael proves that the proper girsa here, or I don't know if it's the proper girsa necessarily, but he probably proves that the import here is to get flogged, not just at the end of the Beis HaMikdash. It's you transgress, but you get flogged for it. So we see, because that's where you get flogged for anything based on mikdash tamei. So kol tu min hamesh nazir migalech olav chalavin labias mikdash, and you get flogged for it. The kol tu on 4 lines on the bottom. Kol tu min hamesh any tumah from a dead body she'ein hanazir migalech olav, which a nazir does not shave because after having come into contact with such tumah. You're not liable for coming to the Beis HaMikdash, and also the inference is that there is no flogging for it. So this is not like Rabbi Yirmiyah, because Rabbi Yirmiyah said you'll get flogged for eating truma after having gone onto such a canopy with trees or with stones. But we see here, no, that's not true. If the Nazir doesn't break his Nazirus as a result of such a tumah, there's no malchus on it, there's no flogging in it, whether for entering the Beis HaMikdash or for eating truma tamei. Okay, so that's a refute Rabbi Yirmiyah's statement that for the canopy creates sufficient tumah in order to be metamei the individual who walks under the tree, that he should get flogged if he eats truma. Doesn't. If it's only the type of tumah which breaks Nazirus, is the type of tumah which you get flogged if you eat truma afterwards. Okay? There's a linkage between the two. Says more, Rabbi Yochanan, second line from the bottom. Rov the Elon, let's say the canopy of the tree, Sheyesh ben arbo, it has 4 by 4 tvachim. Right, the branch itself, the branches themselves are sufficiently close together that there's definitely 4 by 4 tvachim in the canopy that they form. So then, if you go underneath it, and there's dead body underneath part of that canopy, Nazir shaves on that. Okay, he has to breaks his Nazirus. Megalech is a euphemism for breaking the Nazirus. Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yossi said, name Rabbi Yochanan. Tzido achas b'tzad zeh, yodo achas b'tzad zeh, yodo achas baroven. Now imagine like this. Let's say this is the canopy of the tree. It's not 4x4. I put my hand here and makes it 4x4. Then I put my other hand under here. So what's the status over there? And there's a mace underneath here, right? There's a dead body under here as well. So does my hand make up the missing measurement of the tree? That's the question. You're correct. Okay? That's what it says over here. You're the top of the one Zion. Ein hanazir megalech. Nazir does not have to break his nazirus on that in that case. Now the next statement of Rabbi Yossi is kind of cryptic in that it's a non sequitur. It doesn't follow here. And the Shai Tersel tries to cut it out and paste it elsewhere. I'm just going to learn it as being totally non-related to our discussion here, but rather related to Mishnah Olos. The Mishnah Olos says, for beginning of the 6th parak of Olos, Pnei Moshe actually says this, that a person or vessel can become an ohel, can become an awning in order to create tumah, but not in order to bar tumah from penetrating. In other words, in the case I had before, if I make a hand and my hand is over the mace and over something else, so it'll create an awning that the thing will become tummy. But on the other hand, if this is the mace and I want to create a barrier between the mace and it can't create a barrier. So that's strange. That's exactly what Rabbi Yossi says. If it creates a barrier in terms of tumah, right, to bring the tumah, to create a barrier in terms of generating tara. We made a chotzis tumah. If it does create a barrier in front of tumah, then it shouldn't create a barrier in front of tara either. He doesn't understand why the dichotomy. But the Gemara just leaves it dangling. The Gemara doesn't give an answer. Okay? It's kind of out of left field. That's why there probably is something missing here. But
was this ever discussed above?
No, not that I recall. Most of our learning I don't recall from the Bali, but I don't recall Nazir that well. Rabbi Yochanan said, this is there's a little bit of background information missing here, which we should supply outside. If you have tumah in a room, let's say there was a corpse in this room, so all the pathways through which the corpse would travel to go outside the house are tamei as well. Even though the corpse is not right now in the outer room, but since the corpse will have to travel through the outer room to get out, right? So everything in its pathway is tamei. Okay? So far so good? So let's say you have a case like this. You have you have under a bed in a room. Okay? You have under a bed in a room, you have a mace, a dead body, and a nazir.
I remember this stuck in the box.
Well, it's a similar idea, but I don't know if we had precisely this case. You're under a bed in a room, you have a dead body and a nazir. Okay? So, in this case, the nazir doesn't necessarily have to break his nazirus. Because a bed doesn't create an ohel. Right? A bed doesn't create an ohel. No. We're going to learn why later on. He's not, the mace is not necessarily going to exit where the nazir is. On the contrary, the mace is going to exit by being taken out from under the bed in the other direction and taken outside the room. So therefore, the larger oil of the room does not unite the nazir and the mace for reasons we're going to discuss in a few moments. So therefore, in this case, we say the nazir is actually the nazir actually remains tahor. Okay? Now that's not here inside yet. That's all that we didn't see inside. Now let's pick up all that's preliminary. Now,
Trying to do is to find the way around a lot of stuff. So
right. That's right. Hameis b'bayis, if the dead body is in the house, b'nazir tachsamita, and the nazir is under the bed. Also here, the Shai Tersel throws in the word ein. Okay? Ein ha-nazir megalech. The nazir does not have to shave either. Because then, of course, the nazir will remain under the bed while the corpse exits the house. It's not a problem. Koshkein, and this, however, this is certainly true. Hameis tachas hamita, if the mace is under the bed, but Nazir bayis and the Nazir is in the room, then megalech, then it breaks his Nazirus. Why does it break his Nazirus in that case? Because in that case, the mace is going to come through the room where the Nazir is in order to exit. So therefore, the tumah is as if we're already in the room. So Nazir in that case comes to me. Now here we have to throw in, that's the end of Rabbi Yochanan's statement so far. Now, we have to, obviously this statement requires a lot of explanation. So let's go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines, and let's plug in Rabbi Mona's statement in the end of the 6th line tense. Okay? Rabbi Mona asks a question. Okay, it's a very logical question which everybody's got to ask. You see Rabbi Mona? The end of the line? Reish Mona. Rabbi Mona asks, Im Oel Lachutz. Look it, if the bed is a sufficient barrier that if the Nazir and the mace are under the bed, that the rest of the house doesn't combine the two, and therefore the Nazir can remain tar and the mace remains tar. So it means it's preventing the outer larger oil of the room from joining the mace with the Nazir, right? So if the bed is sufficient oel lachutz to divide between the rest of the room and the two of them under the bed, so then it should be its own ohel that everything under the bed should affect each other, and therefore the mace should affect the Nazir. Im ein ohel hamshich, if it's not a tent in order to bring tuma from the mace to the Nazir, right? Then on the other hand, also tipka truba, then let the tuma break through the bed and envelop the entire room. So how do you draw the dichotomy? Let's go back. Let's go back up to Amr Rabbi Yochanan, which is the 6th line down from the top. You see that? The 6th line from the top? Amr Rabbi Yochanan, I'll tell you. Rabbi Yochanan, this is really an answer. Amr Yochanan, meis va Nazir tachas karei mitar. If you have a dead body and a Nazir underneath the bed legs, tachas me'er going to go underneath the stomach of a camel, tachas me'er shakuf underneath the, I don't know exactly what a shakuf is actually. I think it's under under some sort of threshold of some sort. Tachas malterios under some sort of ornamental awnings. And the Nazir and the mace are under these two things at the same time. Ein Nazir megalech. The Nazir doesn't shame all these things. Why? The low kol davar and not anything else. It should be she'eno nira lahagin. Not anything else which is not made for protection. It says here shenir lahagin should be she'eno nira lahagin. What defines an ohel? When that thing is made for protective purposes, such as the roof of a house. But if it's a bed is not made for protective purposes, right? If it's an animal stomach is not made for protective purposes. If it's the awning over the front of a house or ornamental pillars, they're not made for protective purposes. They're made for awning, right? For ornament. So therefore, if the mace and Nazir are underneath that type of structure, the tumah does not transfer from one to the other. It's talking about specifically an ornamental one. You're right, and a general awning would be. So that's what we'll say when it's a barrier, but not an oel. That's in fact what we're saying, that when you have the mace and the Nazir under the bed, so the bed is a barrier to the rest of the house. But it's not an awning to bring the tumah from one half of the bed to the other half of the bed. An umbrella? It's made to protect. It would be an awning.
So how come
Because Chaznish says it's not an oil because it's like an article of clothing. It's not an independent oil. Okay? So it says Shama Chizkiah. So Chizkiah heard this. He said, Taru Mesim. That's the case, forget it. There's no such thing as Tumas Mace anymore. Because on any OL, you could say it's an OL for non-protective purposes. Okay? Rabbi Yochanan said, now, similar idea. Hameis Babayis. You have a house. The house is really a room, and then you have a banquet hall. Now, people go back and forth between the house and the banquet hall. Okay? They're like a great hall and a rest house. Hameis Babayis, let's say the dead body is in the house, Nazir B'Traklin. And the Nazir is in the hall, in the great hall. So a Nazir Megalech, Nazir has to shave, because it's possible that they'll bring the mace through the Traklin, through the banquet hall to get out, right? So there's equal traffic in both directions. Koshkin, and it's certainly true, therefore, Hameis B'Traklin, if the mace is in the hall, for Nazir Rabayis, and the Nazir in the house there, Nazir Megalech, Nazir will shave as well. It's more likely, of course, it's going to go through the house, from the hall to the house, and then out. But it's also possible that it'll go from the house into the hall, and then out. So therefore, we say in both directions, the Nazir has to shave. Okay? Let's skip 3 lines, because we read the 3 lines I just read before. Rabbi Yochanan said, similar idea. Tuma mechatzi. Now here, there's a lot missing here, in this next line and a half. Tuma mechatzi koisel. If you have tuma on a wall, and it's for half of the wall v'lachutz and the outside, which it's half. The walls that you see back there were much thicker, so the tuma is halfway through the wall and beyond, right? In the outer half of the wall. That's what I mean to say. Let's say the wall is 2-3 feet thick, and the tumor is in the outer 1 foot of the wall, and the nose is on the inside of the wall. He's in the house. So where's the tumor going to go? It's going to go out. No.
Oh, you mean it's on the outside?
So it's like on the outside, so the nose is not tummy, right? Now, however, if tumah is, again, this is not inside the Gemara. I'm telling you outside the Gemara, but the Shiur and so changed it. But if tumah is in the inner part of the wall, right, meaning in the inner half of the wall, then we say hanozir megalech hanozir doshe, because then it's more likely, instead of going directly out, it's going to be brought into the house, right, and then taken out through the house, right? And the Shiur so throws in here as well. Mechta, if it's exactly halfway through the wall, the Nazir Misafik doesn't have to shave; he doesn't break his Nazirus. Okay. Rabbi Yosha, you see Rabbi Yosha? Rabbi Yosha, Tuma Tmuna Bekarko Shabahis. If you have Tuma buried Tuma in a house, Nazir Megalech Nazir shaves. Now, according to this understanding, the Tuma in the floor spreads through. There's no bed over it to break it, right? So it spreads through the entire house, and any Nazirs in the house are going to have to shave. There's another girsa here, which the Shiur brings down, which is that Eina Nazir Megalech. The Nazir doesn't have to shave. And he brings down that we're going to have in a later parak, of course I have not seen yet this, that in Nazir, when Tumah is buried, the Nazir must step directly over that spot where the buried Tumah is in order to become Tomei.
It's kind of strange though, if you have a floor over the base, it still spreads through.
Yeah, that's according to simple pshat. But the Shiur so agrees with you that it's strange. He says it's not the case. So he takes out Eina Nazir Megalech. He should say Eina Nazir Megalech, unless you walk exactly over that spot where the mace is buried, which is like you're saying. Okay. Rabbi Yaakov Yosha said, Ro Binyono, if you have the majority of the spinal column and the structure of the dead person, Ro Minono, and most of the skeleton, most of the bones of the skeleton of the dead person, and Nazir Megalech. Nevertheless, Nazir doesn't shave. Why? Because the Nazir only shaves to come to contact with a dead body. And this is not considered to be enough of a dead body for Nazir to shave. Even though in terms of a mace, in terms of Tumas mace, this is enough to make Tumas mace. Nevertheless, Nazir doesn't have to shave for that, because he has to come into contact not just with tumor, but with tumor of a dead body, which means he has to have at least some flesh. Skeleton is not enough.
Okay, that's one of this. Bones alone are not enough.
Bones alone not enough. But the thing is like this. Again, it's a very ambiguous thing because above a certain amount of bones, a chatzi kav, that's almost the bone themselves are metame. So it's obviously a very small skeleton. Okay, so it's because once you get up to the size of chatzi kav atzamos, then that in and of itself creates tumor. Okay, now in the Mishnah said that in truth, if the Mitzorah, the Nazir is a Zav or a Mitzorah, so then he can continue counting his days, right? So it says more, Be'emes, the Amar Rabbi Lezer, Be'emes Amar Rabbi Lezer, Komoko, that which Emes, which Rabbi Lezer said in our Mishnah, that Be'emes, in truth they said, Komoko Sheshininu Be'emes, every time we use the word Be'emes, Halachah Moshe Misina, that tells us that the thing involved, the issue involved is Halachah Moshe Misina issue. Okay, so Halachah Moshe Misina teaches us that a Nazir who becomes Tameh in and of itself does not necessarily lose his Nazirus. Now, Yiplu Ki Tameh Nizro. It says his days fall when he makes his Nazirus Tameh. Mikan, from here we learn Shetmeim Noflim, that the days when he's Tameh fall off. Not that it breaks the Nazirus. In certain cases he becomes Tameh, but it doesn't break his Nazirus. But those days fall. Right? The case of our Mishnah, although he becomes Tameh, they don't break his Nazirus, but those days fall off. So it says more of a Yistor, let it break the Nazirus altogether, those days. No, Ein L'chos Soser El Yimei Meis Bilbad. The only days which break Nazirus are days of actual contact with the dead body, not contact with Tumas Meis, but contact with the dead body itself. Okay? Says the Gemara, now this is a new issue actually, going back to the Mishnah. The Mishnah said if he's a definite Mitzorah, a definite leper, and during the days he's closeted away, and during the days that he's trying to become Torah from that leprosy, they don't count. Right? They don't count. Unlike the days in which he's in quarantine, before he's definitely declared a leper, which do count, the days that he's definitely. What?
If it's questionable.
If it's questionable, then he can continue counting through it, right? But not days he's definite or days he's coming out of it. So it says the Mora, why not? Maim Yomim. V'lo yalu, says Mora, they don't count. Why not? Maim Yomim she'osim mishkav u'moshav. The days of a Zav, when he makes things he lies on or things he sits on, Tomei. Because a Zav is super Tomei. Ataymer Olin, you say those days count. Yom she'enosi mishkav u'moshav, days when Mitzorah is not as Tomei. Right? He doesn't make things he sits on or lies on Tomei. And the Shelu, why can't they count? What did you see that you say they don't count? Amar Rabbi, I know this is Amar Rabbi somebody. B'Shem Rabbi Shimon Lakish. I'll tell you why. Gadel Perasar Rosho. He has to be days in which he can grow wild the hair of his head. Yom Shogiter said days in which he can grow the hair of his head only, and they count towards the zeros. Yomim shall have boras, turning the page, say days which the hair growing eventually have to be shaved off, and only they don't count. Now it's an interesting point. The hair is growing when he's becoming tar from being a Mitzorah, he's eventually going to have to shave. Because in the Mitzorah has to shave. So those days don't count because it's hair grown for the purpose of shaving. It's not hair grown, right, like a Nazir, which you can grow ad infinitum. Okay? That's true about the days when he's counting Tara leading up to his eventual haircut. But if you make on with the days that he's a definite Mitzorah living outside the camp, as the Torah dictates, he can grow his hair as long as he wants, and the contrary is not even allowed to take a haircut then. So why can those days count towards Nazirus? So Rabbi Yochanan b'Shem Rabbi Yana said it's a special halacha. It says, in last week's parsha, when Miriam became a leper, So Aaron said to Moshe, "I'll not take kamesh. You shouldn't be like a dead person, like a corpse." Oh, so we see Taras like a corpse, right? So therefore, if death breaks Nazirus, Taras breaks Nazirus as well. Okay, at least it doesn't count. They won't break it, but it can't count. I may say, just like if a Nazir comes in contact with death, even indirectly, so it doesn't break his Nazirus, but it puts his Nazirus into suspended animation until he becomes Tahor, right? Afi mehezger, so to the days in which he's a it says here hezger, but it should be the days in which he's a muchlot, the days in which he's muchlot. When he's a definite Nazir, does mitzora ain't only they don't count as well. Chad Bey Rebbe, one student, Amra Dad Rabbi Yochanan Kuner Shim Lakish. He said this. Said this word for Rabbi Yochanan, the comparison between lepers and death in front of Reish Lakish. V'lo kibel lavi. Reish Lakish did not accept this comparison. He said, "Hachat avid lehezger, v'hachat avid lehechlet." Here he said, here you're sometimes you're learning that this thing with Miriam is comparable to Hezger, the days of quarantine prior to actually being a Nazir. And sometimes you're learning it has to do with the days in which she's definitely considered to be a Mitzorah. Which one is it? Is it definitely a Mitzorah? Was Miriam definitely a Mitzorah? Was Miriam just in quarantine? Maybe she's a Mitzorah. Says the Gemara, Leis Yachil. You can't learn out from this drasha. Where do I see a case where it says that it's days of Hezker? Because it says the Adam Rabbi Yochanan actually is the answer. The reason why it's called the reason why Reish Lakish asked the question, because it says in the pasuk itself, Tisoger Shivas Yamim. It says she should be quarantined for 7 days. It doesn't call it she's definitely a Mitzorah. Right? So therefore, how can you learn out to definite days? So Leis Yachil says, well, no, you can't ask this question. Don Rabbi Yochanan, B'Shem Rabbi Yana, Rabbi Yochanan is the name Rabbi Yana, Al not tehei kameis tisager. Actually, I'm not sure if this is an answer now. No, this is part of the question. You can't learn out from here because this whole pasuk is teaching us something else. It's teaching us the Amar Rabbi Yochanan B'Shem Rabbi Yana, which Rabbi Yochanan named Rabbi Yana, Al not tehei kameis tisager. She shouldn't be like a corpse. There should be quarantine. It really should be backwards. The transpose the word from the next line with the word over here. Ma'imei hezger. The days of quarantine are 7, Shiva. If you may hamei Shiva, from here learn there's 7 days of Avelus when somebody dies. Just like Mira's put in for 7 days. So name it, the Gemara actually ends with the question. The Gemara ends the question and says, you wanted to say that from here we learn a Mitzorah is like a dead, and therefore it has to put the Nazirus into suspended animation, right? But the truth is we can't learn out from this pasuk. This pasuk is about the days when the Mitzorah is in quarantine. And days of Mitzorah is in quarantine, you said anyway they can count towards the Nazirus. We need to have a pasuk that teaches the days that the Mitzorah is definitely a Mitzorah can't count towards the Nazirus. You haven't brought me a pasuk to that effect. That's the kind of pasuk I need. Okay? Yeah, it's also not. It is differently entirely. But so therefore,
she had the 7 days like the father's being.
Right. It was a unique circumstance there. Anyway, the Gemara doesn't say that, but that's an obvious reason not to learn from there. Agreed. Okay, look it down. Rabbi Yeshua, let's say his name Rabbi Yeshua. Kol tuma min hameis, any tumor from a dead person. Shanozir megaleh cholav, which a Nazir shaves because he came into contact. In other words, breaks in his ears. Chayom alabias mikdash. You enter the base of mikdash after such a tumor, after that become tummy in that way, so you're liable. You get flied, you get the kare. So where's going to say what exactly you get? But chol tumah mace, any tumor from a dead body, shein nazir megaleh cholav, which a Nazir does not break his ears after that. And chalav beis mikdash, you don't not liable for the base of mikdash at that. Amar Meir said, I don't understand. Lote kalam in lote zu kalam in assurance. This should be no less than no more lenient than if you came to contact with a dead rodent. So if you came to contact with a dead rodent, he's not allowed to enter the base of mikdash. Why here the 2 months mace that you're talking about here? Why is the city worse than a dead rodent? It should be matame. Now, new issue. Akiva said, "Don't even Rabbi Eliezer." I learned it from Rabbi Eliezer. I said, I understand. It said that you only become tamei if you're Nazir, to break your Nazirus, if you come to contact with a half a measure of bones and a half a measure of blood. Why so much? Much require much less. Ma'im etzel gutzar. If a bone the size of a barley kernel, sheinu matame so odem bo'oel, which doesn't make a person tamei in a tent. Don't make a person tamei if he touches it physically. The Nazir, if he does touch it physically, he has to shave. In other words, he breaks in his ears. Even Revius Adam, which is a quarter, not a half measure, that should suffice. Which does make a person tamei if he's in the same tent as that blood. It's not a kavachom that the Nazir should shave. He comes to contact with it, either touching it or carrying it. How can we say need a half a measure of blood? It should be a quarter measure to suffice. Amar li. So Rabbi Eliezer said back to me, Maza Akiva, what is this that he wants on Akiva? Ain't done it kavachomer. We don't make kavachomers in these matters. And Shabasi would say Rabbi Shua, when I came and said I was sending him from Rabbi Shua, he explained to me further. He said, he said, it's good what you're saying, it's a nice for him. But this is the halacha that a Nazir, in other words, that Nazir's tumah does not necessarily parallel all tumas mace. Meaning, there's certain things which make a person tamei tumas mace, but don't break Nazirus. That's which is the theme of this parak. It's not necessarily the same thing. Talmud learns over there. Shnayim tmeim b'mace. You can have 2 people who are tamei with a mace. Now, let's make it clear. This is a riddle, okay? 2 people become tamei through a corpse. Echot tamei to Mashiv, one's tamei for 7 days. V'echot tamei to Maser, one's only tamei till nightfall. How do we have such case? Gemara is going to say another riddle. Shloshet tamei b'mace. 3 people become tamei with the mace. Shnayim tamei to Mashiv, 2 are tamei for 7 days. V'echot tamei to Maser, one's tamei only till nightfall. Arba tamei mace. 4 people get tamei with the mace. Shlosha metamim tmeim to Mashiva. 3 of them are tamei till all 7 days. V'echad tamei to Maser, 1 is tamei only till nightfall. How do these work? How do these work? So it says the Gemara, Ketzat Shnei bnei Adam anogim b'meis. Actually, it should be Shnei bnei Adam Kama Hanogea. Here on the side, it changes the text. Hanogea. If you have 2 people, the person Hanogea b'meis who touches guy number 1, however, right? Guy number 1 touched the corpse. Guy number 2 touched guy number 1. Right, you should say that's still nightfall. That's exactly. And the same way you learn all the other cases which he brought down. Rabbi Yochanan b'shem Rabbi Yanai said, "V'kulan Torah hein eitzo truma." Now that's only true. All of the things we talk about in terms of Nazirus is only true about Nazirus. But if you're talking about by truma, so even people further down the line, we come forbidden to eat truma and get flogged. Avabiyas hamikdash ein chayiv, but until entering the base hamikdash, ein chayiv elo al. It's only al. Now here I have to throw in the lines the Sharitar and Stroll throws in. It's only a rishon bilvad. It's only the first guy who touched the corpse. Avolo, but not al hash, and going picking outside al sheish lagabish, not the same guy who touched the first guy. For not so bias mikdash, entering the base of mikdash. Look, the mace is what? The mace is called in halacha the Avi Avosa Tuma, the grandfather of Tuma, right? The first guy to touch it becomes a Av. And the second guy to touch it becomes a Rishon, which is very confusing. Because here the Yerushalmi uses Rishon in this sequence, Meis Rishon Sheni. But normally we say the Rishon is actually what Yerushalmi would call here Sheni. You understand what I'm trying to say? So it's confusing. Okay, but so here when it says the Rishon who touches the mace, he's now, if he enters the Beis HaMikdash, he's like, because he's an off. He gets flogged, he's chayav koros. The Sheni who enters the Beis HaMikdash, who's a Rishon L'Tumah, so he doesn't get flogged. Okay, because he's only that Sheni. Okay? So, Matam, why is that? It says a man who becomes tummy and does not get Yischato means have the paraduma ashes and water sprinkled on him. The guy requires having ashes and sprinkled and water sprinkled for 7 days. That's this guy who touched the dead body, right? So she's liable for entering the Beis HaMikdash tummy. A guy who does not require paraduma ashes sprinkled on him, she's not liable for entering the Beis HaMikdash. You got that so far? This guy has to have, the Rishon touch the mace has to have ashes, but so he's not there basically, or if he does, he's liable. This guy doesn't need paradum ashes sprinkled on him, right? He just needs nightfall. So therefore, he doesn't, if he enters Beis HaMikdash, he's not liable. So it's only the Av HaTuma, not the Rishon L'Tumah. Only the first guy touched the mace, not the same guy who touched the first guy. Okay? Says the Gemara, hey, Sivuna asks a question like this. What about a person who touches kalim? V'nogim mace. Now this is important halacha. Look at the same idea. If you have a mace, zaviavos, and the mace is touched by, I have to turn it upside. You have a mace, right? And then who's the aviavos, and then you have instead a keli, which touched mace, a vessel. So then, actually, it's a big machlokas where it's only only a metal vessel, or any kind of vessel. Let's assume a metal vessel, a keli, and then you have an odom. The mace is touched by a keli, and the odom touched the keli. In that case, this odom also requires paraduma. Yeah. Because we say a keli transmits the same stature as the mace. The mace is an aviavos, the keli is also an aviavos. And therefore this guy is off. So even though normally the guy, the third person is a rishon l'tumah, in this case the third person is an avatuma. Okay, because the kelim don't diminish this, don't take it down a notch. They don't ratchet it down. Okay? So it says, so that's what Gemara says. The Gemara asks a question now like this. When they ask a question, Adam, he requires chitui. He has the vusheni, but he's the second guy. So what's his status? Rabbi Ambrechia said special halacha by Nazir. Betumas ish beish v'lo betumas ish bekelim. It's only man touching man, not man touching kalim. In other words, even though this guy who touched the keli now becomes an av, right? He's still not a nazir. Nazir, if that's a nazir, it doesn't break his nazirus. If he enters Beis HaMikdash, it doesn't break. He's not liable. Why is that? We don't know. But especially because there's a special halacha. Has to be a person who became tummy in direct contact with the mace, not via the kalim. That's what Rabbi Goren had a very controversial heter, which we don't rely on, for a Kohen to go to medical school. That what he should do is he should put upon his neck a necklace, which is a keli, which touched the dead body. And that already made, and he's not forbidden, just like you're allowed to enter the Beis HaMikdash, right, if you touch the necklace which touched the dead body. This guy who touched the keli, which touched the mace, allowed to enter the Beis HaMikdash, right? So he held that a Kohen, and this is actually true, that a Kohen who has a necklace which touched dead body, he's allowed to wear that necklace. Even though it's the same halachic result as touching a dead body, he becomes an avatuma, but he's not allowed to touch a dead body, but he's allowed to wear the necklace. So his answer was, well, he should put on the necklace and then enter the hospital and deal with the cadavers. Because then when it's already tummy in a permissible way, there's no reason for him then to refrain from becoming additionally tummy. The flaw is that, who says? Maybe he's, on the contrary, since there is some leniency by the keli which touched the mace, so maybe then he can consider, maybe then that's precisely the point that he can't go on then and go escalate that and touch the mace himself.
I think it was in Marcus. It was that. I mean, every time
No, but that's only coming in contact, they're in contact with the mace. Not in contact with the keli, even though the kid's the same level of tumor. Okay? Milsad Rabbi Amberchia, according to Rabbi Amberchia, Eino Chayev Ela Rishon Bilvad. You're only liable if you're the first guy to touch a mace. Even if you're an avatuma, as you saw, they're in contact with a keli which came into contact with the mace, doesn't matter. Only the first person to touch the mace is liable. Okay? And that's because since it's man to man to man, right? So only the first guy is forbidden, right? So to here, even though there's a keli involved here, which transmits the same level of tumah, nevertheless, ain't no chayav al rishon bilvad. You can only be chayav the first guy, and of course there is no first guy here. The guy is already to the second level, so if he's not liable for entering base of mikdash, he doesn't break his naziros. Rabbi Yossi says there's a catch here. This is that which a person is that which this guy is exempt if he enters base of mikdash, the sheni. Who's a Rishon L'Tumah? Who's only Tumah to tummy till nightfall? It's only if he already went to the mikveh and he enters the base of mikveh, is okay. What if he didn't go to the mikveh yet? Then he enters the base of mikveh, he's liable. Yeah. Okay? When he's the Tvul Yom and he enters the base of mikveh, he's potter. Vusha Tava, so he went to the mikveh. I'm low Tava, but you didn't go to the mikveh yet. Although the Rebbe, that's what Rebbe said. Call tmeim, but tumasim, all tmeim are considered to be tamei, at least at shavo mayim until they come into water. Rabbi Ila said, who atzmo shana? Now here I'm going to change a lot of stuff. I don't have a choice. Otherwise it wouldn't make any sense. Rabbi Ila, who atzmo shanaga? If he himself touched, it should be bekalim shanagu b'meis. So again, the same idea. I touched kalim, put on a necklace which is by worn on a dead body, right? So in that case, chayav. In that case, he's liable at the base of mikdash, right? He argues in the previous case, a guy who touched a necklace touched by the mace and enters the base of mikdash is liable, and I guess would break his naziros too. Who amarav amar taima? He said, and he gave a reason for it. It says, Asher Yitma, and the post goes on, V'lo Yischato. It says the person becomes tamei, he doesn't have the paraduma ashes sprinkled upon him, right? But tumas ish is talking about a tuma of a person, even it should be bekalim who. Look, it's a person who touched kalim, which touched the mace, he has to have the paraduma ashes sprinkled on him. So therefore he says, even this guy, if he enters the base on mikdash, Tameh is liable, and also if he's a nazir, breaks his naziros. It would seem. So it's a very straightforward machlok. No, he argues. That is a very straightforward argument. He says, before we said only if the person touches the mace, now say even the person touches kalim which touched the mace. Okay, so that's a straightforward argument. Okay? Says Gemara, Vuhu Shlishi. Says the Gemara, this is, what about, if that's the case, another, look, take one step further. You have mace, keli, adam, and then let's say we'll put a keli underneath that. This keli is a what now?
Second.
No.
I thought only absorbs what the person before it.
Yeah, but he's an up.
Oh, that's an us.
Right, because since we said a mace doesn't go down.
Right, that's right.
Because so this guy, this keli is a rishon. You see why? The mace is aviavos.
Right.
The keli is also aviavos because it doesn't downgrade.
Right.
So the adam is a of, and the keli is a rishon.
Why does the keli go down?
Because at that point already it goes down. Oh, you know what? You're right. I'm wrong. Keli's enough. Good point. Okay. Very good. So his question is like this: why do we say bigger kiddush? Let's say that you're not allowed to. This keli can't enter the Beis Hamikdash. Even a keli which touched the man, which touched a keli which touched the mace, should not be allowed to enter the Beis Hamikdash. Says, well, you know what? You're right. That's true. Kidamar theoretically, but Rabbi Avun Brachia B'tumas Ish B'ish V'lo B'tumas Adam Kelim. We're talking about the man himself. We're not talking about the man who came into contact with Kelim. Okay. Now, I'm not sure. It's not clear yet if I think not. I think what I just said is wrong. I waffled. I'm waffling. Let me rectify that. What the Gemara is saying is that no, it has to be a person who came into contact with a mace, not a person, not a keli which came into contact with a mace. There's no such thing as a keli coming into contact with anything else, which entering the Beis Hamikdash, bringing it into the Beis Hamikdash is a problem.
So what is the keli if it touches the mace?
The keli which touches the mace is a transmitter.
Right.
It's a carrier, but there's no problem in the keli itself. So the Gemara immediately argues on this. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yisrikum Shem said, Tanoi Tamah Plolig Rabbi Ila. I have a Bryce over there which argues Rabbi Ila. It says, fascinating Bryce actually. A keli which is Chetzio Min Adama. Now they changed the gears here. They changed it to the Tzir Yerushalmi here on the side changes to Chelma. Whatever it is, it's metal. Okay? Even if it's ground, it doesn't mean actual ground, it means ore. Okay, I have a keli which is half made of metal, half made out of animal dung, which is not metame. You're not liable if this keli enters the Beis Hamikdash. Now, why? That's mipnei, only mipnei shechetzi and adama chetzi me'agolim. The Gemara in the first only because half of it is metal and half of it is animal dung. Aviyakulo min adama chayav. If the entire vessel is iron, so you're chayav. So now the Yerushalmi asks, who's chayav? Manu chayav. Who's chayav? Lo sheni hashanoga b'rishonu. Now first we understand, what does it mean chayav? It must be that the next person down the line who touched it becomes chayav. Right? This guy comes chayav for entering the Beis Hamikdash, but that can't be. Or says it can't be. Because what's this guy? He's a Rishon, right? Because we had here, very good. We had here, the mace is the Aviavos, the Keli next in line is Aviavos, the next person becomes an Av, the Keli next line becomes an Av, the other then becomes a Rishon, so he can't be Chayev, right? So what must we be talking about here? You know what it is talking about? And this argues Rabbi Ila. If you toss this vessel to the Beis Hamikdash, you're liable for that. You're not allowed to enter the Beis Hamikdash, Tomei, nor you're allowed to throw something, Tomei, into the Beis Hamikdash. That's a fascinating concept, right? Okay? Says the Gemara, what? Yeah, so it's not like Rabbi Ila, because Rabbi Ila said before, only people. It's only an issue on people. But this basically indicates it's an issue even in tossing objects. Okay? Says the Gemara, Amalei said Ibish's Rocco. He said if it's now this is not a question, it looks like a question, but actually it's a confirming statement. Ibish's Rocco, if you're talking about that we toss it in, Kador the time it's like the following brisa, which tells us that there's already an issue in Kalim, and it's alluded to in this brisa. Architas Gufa, if you enter Beis Mikdash Tummy without having gone to the mikveh, Rechita means bathing yourself in the mikveh, right? So on his chorus you get chorus. For Al-Kibus God, if you went in with Tomei garments which you hadn't washed, Barboim. Why? Why if you went in with Tomei garments? Mishumachnis Kalim Tameim B'Mikdash, because you brought Tomei Kalim into the Beis HaMikdash because your garments were impure. So we see that this idea, which argues in Rabbi Ela, is implicit in this brisa too, right? That if you bring impure garments to the Beis HaMikdash, you're already flogged for that. Okay? Am Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Yossi, Kumi, I don't know, this is Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yochanan. Afanan Nami Ninan, we also in the brisa Hadah, Misayel Hodan Tanaya Kadmaya. We learn in the following brisa a proof to the previous Tana, which is that well, let's see how it's a proof. Says the Gemara. Let me just check this out. Yeah, this is like Rabbi Ela. We're going to learn like Rabbi Ela, a proof like Rabbi Ela. The time Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Yeshua, let's say name Rabbi Yeshua, Kol Tumah in Ames, any tumah from a meisha, Nazir Megalech Olav, whenever we have a tumah from a dead body which a Nazir shaves for, breaks his Nazirus. A tumah from a meis which a Nazir does not shave on, and chayavim Allah bias mikdash, not liable to bias mikdash. So now, what does that tell us? What's the point of this? So obviously, if a well, the Gemara is going to let's see the Gemara explains. Rishon shanazi megalecholav. First, the first guy who touches a mace, where Nazir does shave, chayavim Chayam Bias Mikdash, you're liable for Bias Mikdash. Sheni Sheina Nazir Megalecholav, the second level that a Nazir doesn't shave on, and Chayam Bias Mikdash. You're not liable Bias Mikdash. So look, according to this brisa, in this case, even he's not Chayav and Bias Mikdash, even though he's an Av, because this, if a Nazir touched the Keilah which touched the mace, it doesn't break his Nazirus. So therefore, even an Adam which touched the Keilah which touched the mace is not liable for entering the Beis HaMikdash. You see that? Because of the linkage. This is not like we just learned that even if you toss this Keilah, the price we just learned before, it said even if you toss this Keilah into the Beis HaMikdash, you're liable. According to this price, however, that we just learned, no. It's only even the Adam who touched that keli, if he entered the Beis HaMikdash, is not liable. Who's the only person who's liable? The only person liable is if you have a person who touched the mace. No other situation is going to make it liable in the Beis HaMikdash. Okay, is that clear? If you have a person, according to we have a machlokas now. What constitutes tumah, which upon entering the Beis HaMikdash makes you liable? Is there any tumah for which you have to get paraduma water sprinkled upon you? Right? Or is it only a tumah for which a Nazir breaks his Nazirus? If it's any tumah for which you have to have paraduma water sprinkled upon you, it's even the keli which touch a person, right? Which touch the keli, which touch the mace. Because this keli is also navatuma, right? If you hold it's only the nazir, only a tumah which a nazir is metame on, though, that it's only a person who touched the mace. Because even though a person who touched a keli who touched the mace also has to have paraduma ashes sprinkled upon him, but that's not metame and nazir. The only thing that's metame and nazir is where it's actual contact with the mace. Okay, So Sheni Sheina Nazir Megalech Chalav, that's what we're doing the sixth line from the bottom. A second degree, the Nazir doesn't shave on, Ein Chalav El Bias Mikdash. Rabbi Yochanan said, Letumos Harporshos min Lutumos Haporshos min Ames Nitzurcha. He says, the truth is, he says that this is talking about. Someone says an interesting concept. Can you hold that for another few minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. He says a very interesting concept. He says that if the person came into contact with the mace, even down the totem pole, like this, you have a mace touch a keli, which touch an arm, stream touch a keli. So then, in this case, all these things entering the base of mikdash are being tossed in base of mikdash, make you liable. Everybody agrees with that. The only issue is, our Mishnah is talking about not where you came into contact with the mace itself, but you came into contact with something which came from the mace. Bones, blood, limbs. It's not the same thing. He said a very interesting distinction. He says, if you're anywhere down the line which requires paraduma water sprinkled upon you, which started from an actual dead body in its glory as a full dead body, then everything down the line which requires paraduma water sprinkled on it enters base. If it enters base of mikdash, you're liable. The only time that we draw distinctions is when you're only touching something which came from a dead body, such as the blood, the bones, rot, where it's not an entire dead body, but something which came from a dead body. Then it's only the person who immediately came into contact with that substance who went liable entering base hamikdash, not somebody further down the line. Okay, that's what he says. And he draws a further distinction. He says, "Revi is dam rova atzamos." If you have a quarter of a measure of blood, a quarter of a measure of bones, sheina nazir megalech leim, nazir doesn't shave for touching that smaller measure. So therefore, somebody who comes in contact with that, he and answers the base on mikdash, she's not liable. Chati log dam, half a measure of blood, or chati log, half a measure of bones, which does, if a nazir does come into with them, he does have to break his ears. You're liable for that for entering base of mikdash after that. Okay? Rabbi Yerushalmi said, Havin Savin may want to say, Mapli, when is there machlokas by korban? In terms of to bring a korban, by entering the base of mikdash. Avlu malchus, but in terms of flogging you, afilu ashlishi, afilu even way down the line. And it doesn't matter how little tumah you have, we give you malchus. To bring a korban, only if the flip side, if you hadn't done the intention, you chayav kores, liable to excision, right? Then, if you wouldn't make chayav kores, then you're bringing korban. On the flip side. But to flog you, even if you have a minute degree of tumah in the base of mikdash tamei, will flog you. Tanya Yossi said, then come Rabbi Yirmiyah, but Rabbi Yossi said, no, send in front of Yirmiyah. Upoy Rabbi Yirmiyah. Instead, Bryce in front of Yirmiyah, argue Rabbi Yirmiyah. It says, no. Kol tumah min amesha nazir megaleh choleh. Only if it's a tamei tumah from the mace which a nazir shaves on, then cheleh bias mikdash, then you're liable to flog on bias mikdash. It's not severe enough for nazir to shave on, and bias mikdash, you don't get flogged for it. Rabbi Yosef Berry Boone said, Rabbi Yanai said, like Rabbi Yochanan, like we just read before, the Tmeas Parshas min Ames Nitzacha, that's not necessarily, it's not a proof against Rabbi Yirmiyah, because it could be that's only, when do I need it to be a very high level of contact, when tumors of something, when you touch something which came from a mace, right? Like, the blood, the bones, the rot, then you have to come into direct contact. But it could be if if it's a chain reaction began from a full mace, for a full-blown dead body, then maybe even further down the totem pole you get malchus. That's what he's saying. Rabbi Yirmiyah was saying, even further down totem pole you get malchus. That's if you started from a full dead body, and then it's a chain reaction down the line. When you have that which we see that there's a brayso which says no, it's only tumasha nazir megalech alam. That's talking about specifically where you didn't come into contact with a full dead body, but with fragments of the dead body. Okay, so it says revius dam rovat samash and nazir megalech alam. Then we say that the revius of blood or revius of bones, only a quarter measure, which a nazir doesn't shave on, and you're not liable for them. Chatzi log dam, but chatzi log atzamos, you have a half a measure, shenazir megalech lam, loki lam, that was has to be the same parameters of what a nazir is metame for. Okay, we'll stop here for this evening.